Cold seasons reveal habits that modern life has mostly forgotten. One of the most consistent winter rituals across Europe, North America, and parts of Asia was the deliberate checking of feet before getting into bed. This was not superstition, comfort-seeking, or idle habit. It was a practical assessment rooted in physiology, fuel economics, disease prevention, and survival knowledge shaped by centuries of living without central heating. Cold feet were an early warning system, not a minor discomfort. Before insulated homes and constant indoor heat, the body's extremities were the first indicators of dangerous heat loss. Feet, in particular, reflect core circulation efficiency. Grandparents understood that persistently cold feet at night meant the body was already losing heat faster than it could generate it. This condition often preceded chills, nighttime sweating, or respiratory illness by several hours or days. Checking the feet allowed a final adjustment before sleep when the body's metabolic rate naturally drops. In practical terms, it meant adding dry socks, rewarming feet by the hearth, or repositioning bedding to avoid cold air pooling at floor level. Moisture management mattered more than warmth alone. Cold alone rarely caused illness. Moisture did. Damp feet trapped in bedding created an ideal condition for chilblains, fungal infections, and skin breakdown. In eras when antibiotics were non-existent and minor infections could escalate, this was serious. Grandparents physically checked for moisture, not just temperature. Snow seepage, condensation from leather boots, or sweat from long workdays all posed risks. Drying feet thoroughly before bed reduced skin damage and preserved circulation. Today, this translates directly to winter hiking, unheated cabins, or power outage scenarios where foot hygiene still determines comfort and health. Bed heat was finite and had to be managed intelligently. Beds were not endlessly warm spaces. Even with heavy quilts, heat was something you preserved, not assumed. Cold feet acted like heat sinks, pulling warmth from the rest of the body and destabilizing sleep. Older generations understood that once feet chilled under covers, reheating them required far more energy than preventing the heat loss in the first place. This is why feet were checked before getting into bed, not after. The same principle applies in modern survival planning. Pre-warming extremities reduces overall energy expenditure and improves rest quality, which directly impacts decision-making and endurance. Circulation awareness was part of everyday health knowledge. Poor circulation was common among laborers, the elderly, and those undernourished during winter months. Checking feet was a crude but effective circulation test. Cold, pale, or numb feet indicated reduced blood flow that could worsen overnight. Grandparents responded by elevating feet, slightly loosening restrictive garments, or using simple warming methods like hot bricks wrapped in cloth. These were not comforts. They were interventions. For modern viewers, this really reinforces the value of extremity checks during cold exposure, especially for older adults or folks with vascular conditions. Floor-level cold was a recognized threat, Cold air just settles down low. Bedrooms in older homes were rarely insulated well, and floors could be several degrees colder than the rest of the room. Grandparents checked their feet because they knew cold crept upward during the night. Beds placed too close to exterior walls or windows just made this effect worse. By making sure their feet were warm before sleep, they reduced the impact of convective heat loss rising from the floor. This insight still matters today in off-grid living, historic homes, or even winter camping, where ground cold is often underestimated. Illness prevention focused on vulnerability points, not just generalized warmth. Older generations didn't try to keep the entire body equally warm at all times. Instead, they focused on vulnerable zones. Feet, chest, and neck were prioritized because heat loss there disproportionately affected the body. Cold feet, in particular, were linked to nighttime coughing, congestion, and morning stiffness. Whether the mechanism was circulatory stress or immune response, the observation was consistent enough to become routine practice. Applying this today means targeted insulation rather than excessive heating, a principle that improves efficiency in both homes and outdoor environments. Foot inspection also caught injuries before they worsened overnight. Cracked skin, blisters, frost-nipped toes, or embedded debris were easier to treat before sleep than after 8 hours of pressure and reduced circulation. Winter work increased the likelihood of unnoticed foot injuries. Grandparents checked for damage because untreated foot wounds could limit mobility for weeks. In survival or historical contexts, loss of mobility was often catastrophic. Modern parallels are obvious for hikers, tradespeople, and anyone in cold conditions where foot failure ends the mission. This knowledge is immediately applicable. Before bed in winter, especially in cold homes or during outages, you should physically check that your feet are dry, warm, and unrestricted. If they are cold, warm them actively before sleep rather than relying on blankets alone. Use breathable socks rather than thick ones that trap moisture. Elevate your feet slightly to encourage circulation. In outdoor settings, change socks before sleeping even if they feel dry. These steps mirror historical practice and, well, are supported by modern physiology. For historians and survivalists, this habit really illustrates a broader principle. Past generations managed risk through routine assessment rather than reaction. The foot check was a nightly diagnostic tool, refined through experience, not theory. It conserved fuel, preserved health, and reduced long-term injury. There's a reason this habit endured across cultures and centuries. This practice appears wherever winters were harsh and resources limited. That alone tells us it worked. It required no tools, no cost, and no specialized knowledge. It relied on attention and discipline. In studying these habits, we gain insight into how people survived long winters without modern conveniences, and honestly, how small, repeatable actions shaped resilience. If you value this kind of grounded historical knowledge and want more insights that still apply today, subscribe to Wisdom for the Journey. Go ahead and share this guide with fellow history buffs and survival-minded thinkers who appreciate practical lessons drawn from the past.